We're back talking finance today. Gavin Martin from Cornerstone Wealth is back with us. And today, how do you map your future? Is your future worth mapping? Is there a big picture in your life that you'd like to see goals met? And how do you get there? Well, Gavin Martin, welcome back to 2020.
G'day Neil, great to be with you. And goals are such an important part of this process.
They are, and sometimes we've got to have a reminder as to how to actually achieve those things in our lives that we might have as things that we've dreamed about, goals that we've set perhaps in younger times and we're sort of struggling to meet them. You must talk to a lot of people who are at a point where they're saying, well, you know, I had some big dreams, some big goals, but somehow or other things have gone off the rails.
Yeah, so if you're at that point in time where you know what you want to achieve, you've written them down, but you need to then know how to match up your financial circumstances to move towards those goals, the first step in the process is to take a snapshot of your current position. The way you do that is you get a piece of paper and you draw a line right down the middle, and on one side you write down your assets or what you own, and on the other side you write down your liabilities or what you owe, and then you add them all up, and at the bottom you take the one from the other, and that ends up being your net situation. And that's a good starting point to set you up to where you can start to work towards understanding your position and working towards your goals.
And Gavin, even if you've done that little exercise and you've got your assets one side, liabilities on the other, and you, at the end result, you find out you're actually in the red, that's actually a positive thing too, because better knowing that you're in trouble than not.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first key thing, to understand your position, and then you can do something about it. So you might have, if that is the case, that you owe more than you own, then you might be able to quickly sell an asset. And often the quickest and easiest asset to get your head above water that you can sell is your car or vehicles. If you're using borrowed money to purchase a vehicle, that can be one of the most effective ways to rebalance the assets and liabilities.
Now, you mentioned 7 steps, and that was the first one. Let's rip through this other 6 steps and get an overview picture of how we can actually map our future.
Yeah, so the next step after you understand your situation is to try and create a little bit of buffer. And the way that you do that is to save $1,000 emergency fund. And this is just trying to prevent you having to use debt should there be some instance or emergency that comes up. You're able to use this $1,000 to pay for that emergency rather than relying on the credit card or other forms of debt. So a save $1,000 emergency fund is that next step.
And what's number 3?
Number 3 is pay off all your consumer debt. So consumer debt is things like credit cards, car loans, personal loans, store cards. Pay all those off, and you can do it in a way that we call the debt snowball, where you start to pay off the smallest debt first, and then use what you're putting towards that smallest debt to pay off the next debt. It's like paying more and more off more quickly as you're paying down the debts. So once you've got your emergency fund, start paying your consumer debt off. Once they're paid off, then you can save your larger emergency fund of 3 to 6 months living expenses.
Okay, those consumer debts like a millstone around your neck. Get free of those and you're ready to roll. Let's go with number 4.
Yeah, number 4 is the 3 to 6 months emergency fund. So if you spend $3,000 a month, then you need between $9,000 and $18,000 sitting off in a separate account that's only used for emergency purposes, and that will buffer you from 90% of what life throws at you. So whether that's a job loss or a sickness in the family, that will buffer you from so much of what life throws at you. Once you've got that in place, the next step is to save for major purchases, and really that is about saving a deposit on a home or paying for a car, kids' education, or sometimes it might be a business as well that you're saving to start up a business.
Okay, we're getting close. Number 6.
Number 6 is to purchase an affordable home. The key thing is an affordable one. Don't sort of buy a mansion and tie yourself up in lots of debt, but buy an affordable home and then pay off the mortgage as quickly as possible.
And we're home to number 7.
We are. The next thing is to really invest for the future and save for your retirement. So getting to the point where you can start to plough money into other investments. You should have built up your superannuation through your employment over time, but then you can really start to plough money into other investments as well to enable you to provide for your living expenses without having to engage in paid employment.
Gavin, it sounds so easy when you go through 7 steps, and for some people they'll be somewhere along that process, but there's always a fine-tuning that's needed. How often ought you come back to these sorts of steps and some goals and plans and a map you might have for your future to be able to just reassess and reevaluate where you're at?
I think at least annually is important, so review the goals and make sure all your finances are supporting those goals. But ideally you would do that either on a quarterly or half-yearly basis, just to review it, reset your finances. And I guess the key to each of these steps is the overriding one, which is spending less than you earn. Unless you're doing that, you're going to really struggle to achieve your goals.
And to be really negative here, what is the likely outcome if you completely ignore this idea of having a plan and making a map and getting a few steps in place to ensure that your future goes in a particular direction?
If you completely ignore your finances, you'll end up at some point in the future not having sufficient resources to achieve what you're wanting to achieve. And that's a really key message, Neil, and a really important point that you make. If you don't look at it now, it's going to just cause problems at a later point in time.
And as a Christian, Gavin, I guess there's this idea of stewardship, and we've talked about this in earlier occasions, and probably more than once, but the idea of stewardship, taking responsibility and applying wisdom to your finances is really something that is a part of the Christian foundation.
Yeah, so many parts of or parables that Jesus talked about referred to money and possessions, and I think it's because it's such an important part of our lives, and the way that we handle money and possessions is an outward reflection of our internal spiritual condition. And so I think it is a really important part to factor in, and whilst you might not enjoy dealing with money, I think it is a very important practical but also spiritual thing to cover off.
Gavin Martin, always full of great wisdom, and thanks for your insights today. And just to point people to your website at Cornerstone Wealth, and there'll be a link there on our website, the 2020 page at vision.org.au. And Gavin, just to say that when it comes to these sorts of financial issues and planning for the future, seeing a financial advisor is probably a good thing if you're a little unsure of these types of foundations.
Yes, definitely. Advisors are able to help you and guide you through these processes and steps, and it's if you do need assistance, it's an important thing to seek that out. And of course, our segment not designed to be advice as such. You should see a financial advisor to take your personal circumstances into consideration. Gavin Martin, thanks so much for being with us today on 2020. Thank you, Neil. Great to be with you.